Dear friends, welcome back for a new session, new video. In this class, we start new chapter, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So here we start new topic, sexual reproduction in flowering plant. This is second chapter in unit reproduction. Already we completed the chapter reproduction in organisms. So here in this chapter mainly we are concentrating on sexual reproduction in flowering plants. That means here we are not discussing asexual reproduction, we are concentrating on sexual reproduction. We know that sexual reproduction is a process of reproduction where organism produce the offspring by the formation and fusion of gametes, and brief details of sexual reproduction already we completed while discussing about reproduction in organisms. Okay, here we discuss mechanism of sexual reproduction takes place in flowering plants. Then which group of plants is considered as flowering plants? Angiosperms are said to be the flowering plants. Angiosperms are considered as flowering plants. Because of this reason, this is nothing but a sexual reproduction in angiosperms. Flowering plants refers to the angiosperms. In angiosperms, this flower is reproductive part, because this flower is helpful for the sexual reproduction as it contains androecium and gynoecium. Of course, I am talking about the bisexual flower. Here, commonly flower comprises androecium and gynoecium, male and female reproductive organ. Because of this reason, this flower is capable or it is involved in the process of sexual reproduction. Because of this reason, flower is reproductive part of the angiospermic plant body. Because of this reason, angiosperms are angiospermic plants. This is the group which produces the flowers. Because of this reason, flowering plants refers to the angiosperms. Okay, when we observe typical flower, okay, so here this is the stalk of the flower, nothing but pedicel. This becomes stalk of the flower. The upper part of this pedicel become here. I am talking about this area. So here this is called thalamus. This is called thalamus. This thalamus forms the stage or platform for the attachment of floral parts, for the insertion of floral parts. Here floral parts, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. These four forms floral parts in bisexual flower. So here these floral parts inserted in thalamus. When we observe the calyx, this is the green color structure. Here it forms the first whorl of the flower. Here this is calyx. Calyx is group of sepals, or we can say that group of sepals become calyx. So this is calyx. After the calyx, there is a presence of corolla. This is corolla. And corolla is represented by the petals. Corolla, unit of corolla, petals, or we can say that group of petals forms the corolla. Okay, so here corolla is present. Afterwards, already we know that this is the bisexual flower. Here male reproductive organ, androecium represented by the stamens. So, stamens. Stamens collectively called androecium. Stamens represents the androecium. Androecium is male reproductive part of the flower. After this, there is a presence of gynoecium. This is gynoecium. Gynoecium is made up of carpels, and there are different types of gynoecium in different species of plants, where the gynoecium is made up of single carpel, then it is called monocarpellary, two carpels, bicarpellary, three carpels, tricarpellary, and so on. Next, inside the ovary, there is a presence of ovules like this. This is gynoecium. Gynoecium. The detailed structure of gynoecium we discuss in next class, but here we concentrate over the typical flower. We can say that this is the vertical section of typical flower. Once again, we will repeat the concept. This is the stalk of the flower, nothing but pedicel. The tip of the pedicel or the tip of this stalk is become stays or the platform for the insertion of these floral parts. Commonly, typical flower comprises 4 floral parts like calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. First, these two, calyx and corolla, are said to be non-essential floral parts. These are said to be non-essential floral parts, whereas androecium and gynoecium are considered as essential floral parts. Essential floral parts. Okay, what is the reason behind this categorization? The first, calyx, first whorl or first circle of the floral part, unit of calyx, sepals. Here, next, second whorl is the corolla, unit of corolla, petals. These two means calyx and corolla are not involved in the process of sexual reproduction. They are the parts of flower, but they are not involved in the process of sexual reproduction. And this calyx and corolla, they are helpful to provide the protection and attraction to the flower, but they are not involved in the process of sexual reproduction. They are not involved in gametogenesis. They are not involved in the fertilization. Because of this reason, these two are considered as non-essential floral parts. That means they are not essential in the sexual reproduction. Of course, they are important for the flower to provide protection, to provide the attraction, but when we observe sexual reproduction, they do not play any role in the sexual reproduction. Because of this reason, they are said to be non-essential. Whereas this androecium and gynoecium, these are the main parts. Androecium is nothing but male reproductive part, gynoecium female reproductive part, androecium made up of stamens, gynoecium made up of carpels. Here the stamens are helpful for the formation of pollen grains. Pollen grains act as male gametophytes and they produce the male gametes. This gynoecium within the ovary produce the ovule. Inside the ovule, female gamete, egg is produced. Means androecium made up of stamens. Stamens are helpful for the formation of male gametes, whereas gynoecium made up of carpels and it is helpful for the formation of female gametes. And this ovary within the ovule, fertilization is occur. That means androecium and gynoecium are involved in the process of sexual reproduction. They are compulsorily required to perform the sexual reproduction. Without the androecium and gynoecium, there is no possibility of sexual reproduction, normal sexual reproduction. Because of this reason, these two are considered as essential floral parts. So, this is the brief explanation about the typical flower. Now, next we proceed with the structure of stamens. Okay, now here we discuss the structure of stamen.
Stamen is modified leaf. Here, leaf is modified to produce the microspores or pollen grains. Hence, microsporophyll, modified leaf, it is stamen.
This is the structure of typical stamen commonly. When we observe this one, the stalk-like structure is said to be filament. And here this lobe-like structure is said to be anther. Anther. This filament is connected to this lobe-like structure anther with the help of a tissue, a type of tissue. It is called connective tissue. Okay, when we observe this anther, anther is made up of lobes, and depend upon the number of lobes present in the anther, anther categorized or classified into different types. That already you are having good idea while discussing about the morphology of angiosperms in PUC first year chapter. Already you observe this one. Here, based on the number of lobes present in the anther, stamen classified as monothecous, dithecous, trithecous, etc. So here monothecous stamen, in this stamen anther is made up of single lobe. Dithecous, here anther comprises two lobes. So here we are discussing about the bilobed anther. That means dithecous anther. Bilobed anther or dithecous anther. Here this is the first lobe, this is the second lobe. These two lobes are commonly connected to the filament. Okay, when we take out the transverse section of this anther, what we observe? Now you observe this one. Okay, so here you are observing the pollen chambers. So when we take out the transverse section, it gives this type of structure. This is filament, this is bilobed anther. Here transverse section is taken, so it gives this type of structure. Here this is anther wall, and here these are the pollen chambers. 4 pollen chambers we are observing. Each pollen chamber is located towards the corner of the anther. Here pollen chambers, pollen chamber, it is also said to be pollen sac. It is also said called microsporangium, singular microsporangium, plural microsporangia. Here we are observing 4 microsporangia. At each corner we observe single microsporangium. They are also said to be pollen sac or pollen chambers. Inside the pollen sac or pollen chamber or microsporangium, we observe microspores, nothing but pollen grains. Now you observe this one here. This is the lobe which comprises 2 pollen chambers. This is the second lobe. It also possesses 2 pollen chambers. That means this is the bilobed anther, nothing but a dithecus, comprises 4 microsporangia. Because of this reason, it is said to be tetrasporangiate. It is said to be what? Tetrasporangiate. Like this here, this is the brief structure of the stamen. When we take out the thin section of a stamen, observe under the microscope, what it reveals, what type of structure we observe, now we discuss. When we observe structure of young anther, it appears like this. This is outermost protective layer. This outermost protective layer is said to be epidermis. This is epidermis. Epidermis. Afterwards, already we know that 4 microsporangia are present. This is the first one. This is second, third, this is 4th microsporangia. Now, below the epidermis, there is a presence of specialized layer. This layer is said to be endothecium. Below the epidermis, endothecium is present here, like this. This is endothecium. When we observe endothecium, it is said to be specialized layer because endothecium is helpful for the rupturing of anther wall at the position of stomium. In this position, stomium is present. Means what? Here, particularly in the notch, here in this position, where the 2 pollen sacs are joined, anther walls are joined. In this position, anther wall cells are bigger and thin walled. They are so delicate, and these cells on maturity of anther, these cells rupture to create the opening for the liberation of fully developed pollen grains. That position is called stomium. So here we are talking about endothecium. This endothecium is helpful for the breakdown of stomium cells to create the opening for the liberation of pollen grains. This layer is said to be endothecium. This layer is said to be what? Endothecium. Commonly, cells present in endothecium are barrel-shaped cells. Cells are like this. These type of cells are said to be barrel-shaped cells, and these cells comprises transfer bands. Okay, what is the use of these transfer bands? We discuss. Cells are barrel-shaped cells in endothecium, and these are hygroscopic in nature. These are hygroscopic cells. What is the meaning of this hygroscopic cells? These cells have the capability to capture or absorb some quantity of moisture from surrounding environment. These cells capture moisture from the surrounding environment. So, because of this reason, they are said to be hygroscopic cells. When anther completely become mature and the pollen grains present within the pollen chambers become fully developed and mature, at that time this anther wants to liberate the pollen grains for the purpose of pollination. That time this anther wall has to break. In the breakdown of this anther wall, this endothecium, particularly hygroscopic cells, play a very important role. At the time of dehiscence of anther, these hygroscopic cells captures the moisture. Because of this reason, the pressure is created, turgor pressure is created. Due to high turgor pressure, these endothecial cells break, a rupture at the position of these transfer bands. It leads to the rupturing of anther wall, particularly at the position of stomium. Hence there is a formation of opening. Through that opening, pollen grains are liberated. In detail we discuss while discussing about the structure of mature anther. But please remember this one, endothecium is made up of barrel shaped cells which are hygroscopic in nature, helpful for the dehiscence of anther by causing a rupturing of anther wall cells at the position of stomium. You please remember this. After the endothecium, next there is a presence of multiple layer, middle layers are present. At this position we observe the multi-layered middle wall, or it is said to be middle layer. This middle layer is not a single layered structure. It is made up of 2 to 3 layers. 2 to 3 layers. This is said to be middle wall, or it is said to be middle layer. In young anther, middle layer is very well developed and it is clearly distinguished. Whereas in matured anther, it is disintegrate, it degenerate. Afterwards, there is a presence of innermost layer of the anther. This innermost layer of the anther is called tapetum. Here, this innermost layer of anther wall is said to be tapetum. This is tapetum. Okay, and this tapetum is very important layer. When we observe the anther wall, in all layers, this tapetum is very important. Tapetum is innermost wall or innermost layer in anther wall. It is closely associated with the pollen grains. This tapetum is of different types in different species. We discuss. Afterwards, in pollen chambers, we are talking about young anther. In young anther, we do not observe pollen grains, but there we observe sporogenous tissue. Here we observe sporogenous tissue. Like this here, sporogenous tissue is present. What is this sporogenous tissue? This sporogenous tissue present in the pollen chambers, further it divide mitotically to produce the spore mother cells. Spore mother cells are pollen mother cells, and those pollen mother cells performs the meiosis to produce the pollen grains. That means sporogenous tissue is helpful for the formation of pollen grains further. But now when we observe the what is a young anther, this is the structure. Tapetum is innermost layer in anther wall. This is very important layer. In some of the plant species, tapetum is glandular. It is also said to be secretive type. Second is said to be amoeboid type. What is the difference between these two types of tapetum? See here, this glandular or secretive type of tapetum is helpful for the secretion of nutritious materials, hormones, and some of the essential chemical compounds required for the formation and growth of pollen grains. That type is said to be glandular or secretive type. Amoeboid type. In this type of tapetum, cells, that means tapetal cells or cells present in the tapetum layer, they perform endomitosis, repeated endomitosis. Sometimes cells may become polyploid cells. That means sometime due to endomitosis number of chromosome set increases. Due to that, sometime they may become more than 2n set comprising cells. 3n, 4n number of chromosomes are also present sometime in amoeboid cells of tapetum. And these amoeboid cells commonly these are multinucleated. And at the time of pollen grain formation in the pollen chambers, these amoeboid tapetal cells move towards the pollen grains to supply the nutrition. Here tapetal cells or cells of the tapetum secrete the nutrition chemicals, but here amoeboid cells move towards the pollen grains to supply the nutrients. So based on this concept, in some of the species of plants, tapetum may be the glandular, it is also called a secretive. In some of the cases, we observe the amoeboid type. Okay, overall, what is the significance or importance of tapetum? Tapetum, when we observe the significance or the importance of tapetum helpful for the diffusion of nutrient materials, diffusion of food materials to the sporogenous tissue or spore mother cells or to the pollen grains. Tapetum is helpful for the diffusion of nutrients from outer layers to the inner cells or pollen grains present in the pollen chambers for the growth, for the formation of pollen grains. Tapetum is also helpful for the secretion of one hormone that is called IAA. It is one type of auxin. It is indole acetic acid. It is helpful for the differentiation of cells. It is helpful for the enlargement of the cells, and this hormone is also helpful for the formation of pollen grains from pollen mother cells. Tapetum is also helpful for the secretion of Ubish bodies. Helpful for the secretion of Ubish bodies. These bodies contributes the chemicals like sporopollenin, which is helpful for the formation of outer layer of the pollen grain. Outer layer of the pollen grain is called exine. That means outer layer of the pollen grain. Outer layer of the pollen grain. That outer layer of the pollen grain is called exine. This exine is a thick, strong, hard, that nature is provided by the sporopollenin. Sporopollenin is contributed by the Ubish bodies, and this Ubish bodies produced or released or secreted by the tapetum. Like that here, tapetum helpful to supplies the nutrient material. It is helpful for the secretion of indolacetic acid hormone. This is also helpful for the production of Ubish bodies, so which contributes the sporopollenin to the exine. Apart from this one, some of the entomophilous flowers. What is the meaning of entomophilous flowers? The flowers which performs the pollination with the help of insects. Here insects are pollinating agents. Such flowers are said to be entomophilous flowers. In those flowers, pollen kit is very important. That pollen kit is also contributed by the tapetum. What is pollen kit? We discussed while discussing about the structure of pollen grain. So this is the structure, and here we observe the ground tissue, and here we observe the vascular tissue and the connective tissue. So like that here, this is the structure of young anther. Okay, after this, here we proceed with the structure of mature anther. Okay, when we discuss the structure of mature anther, it appears like this. Like this. So here epidermis is present. This diagram is important in your annual examination. This may ask for 5 marks. Draw neat label diagram of TS of mature anther. And please remember this one, according to our PUC board, Karnataka PUC board, whenever in biology, whenever diagram is asked for 5 marks, compulsorily you have to go for 10 labelings, 10 correct genuine labelings. So this is epidermis. This is epidermis. After the epidermis, we observe the endothecium. Already we discussed what is endothecium and what is the role of this endothecium. Like this here, endothecium is present. And already I explained that commonly middle layer is degenerate or disintegrate. Sometime few cells of middle layer may also present. So here observe, this is the middle layer. Here this is endothecium. And after endothecium, we observe middle layer. After the middle layer, tapetum present in some of the cases. In some of the cases, it is totally degenerated. like this. Here there is a presence of tapetum. Okay, when we observe this one, this is endothecium. This is middle layer. This is tapetum. And next, when we observe this, here it observed like this. Here there is a presence of ground tissue, or it is also said to be the sterile tissue of the stamen. Commonly it is parenchymatous, helpful for the storage of food, water and some of the minerals. So here this is sterile tissue. Now you observe this one. When we discussed the young anther, there we discussed that 4 pollen chambers present, and these pollen chambers were separately present, but here we are observing that almost all 2 pollen chambers present at each sides have fused, and now they are appearing as a one chamber. What happened here? See, the sterile tissue of the anther present between the one and another pollen chamber in the same lobe. I am talking about the first lobe. Say this is the second lobe. In the first lobe, commonly we observe the 2 pollen chambers in young anther. Between the 2 pollen chambers there is a presence of sterile tissue of the anther. On maturity, this sterile tissue degenerate. Because of this reason, these 2 pollen chambers, they fuse and they appear single. At both sides it happens. So because of this reason, we are observing the bigger pollen chambers here. Now in this position there is a presence of stomium. Here the cells of stomium get ruptured because of the endothecium. Already we know that endothecium comprises hygroscopic cells. On maturity, these hygroscopic cells of endothecium captures the moisture and they causes the rupturing of anther wall at the position of stomium. Now here inside the pollen chambers we observe many pollen grains. Each pollen chamber produces many pollen grains. Number of pollen grains are ready to liberate, like this. Here these are the pollen grains. These pollen grains are ready to liberate from the stomium to perform pollination. This is said to be the structure of mature anther. This is the transverse section of mature anther. So, pollen grains, and here say this is sterile tissue. Also there is a presence of connective tissue. Here you can show the vascular tissue, and also you can label the pollen chamber. So like that, here this is about the labeling, and this is the structure of mature anther. Please remember, in this session we discussed the structure of a stamen, structure of young anther, structure of mature anther, and in the next session, in next class, we will continue with the microsporogenesis.